Let's now speak to the man behind it all, the Treasurer. The $130 billion package will no doubt be a lifeline for hundreds of thousands of people who are on the brink of losing their livelihoods.
But as we just heard, others are missing out, and it's predicted we'll be paying for this for years to come. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg joins us now from Canberra. Treasurer, good morning to you.
Good morning, Karl.
Josh, can I just say from the outset, this is gutsy. This is gutsy, what we saw yesterday, and ordinarily, I guess, against your principles. Will it work?
Well, I think it will be an economic lifeline for millions of Australians, and we're already seeing sighs of relief across the nation as many employers and employees rebuild that connection, which will be vitally important once we get to the other side of the coronavirus. We want the economy to bounce back stronger than ever, and for employees and employers to be connected is critically important to that.
I mean, just look at how many businesses need this. At 9 p.m. last night, 66,000 businesses had registered for JobKeeper. But, I mean, one of the main issues that we're hearing, though, is that a lot of these businesses don't have cash flow and they won't receive this money. It won't kick in until May 1. What do they do in the meantime? Can you help them in any way?
Well, this is the tax office telling these businesses that they will have this money flow because we'll be paying it a month in arrears, and they should go and see their bank. They will already have lines of credit with their bank, and their banks will be understanding in this situation because it is important that we get this system right. That's why we've worked closely with the tax office and particularly the tax commissioner, as well as the Treasury Department. We've taken the best possible advice in putting together this program. It's enormous in scope and scale, but it does reflect the unprecedented nature of the threat.
Who came up with the idea?
Oh, we worked on it together with Treasury. I mean, wage subsidies are known the world over, and we did have a wage subsidy in our earlier package for 117,000 apprentices. But I was very focused, and the Prime Minister was very focused on ensuring that we did what was necessary to support the economy. And to see those queues outside Centrelink was heartbreaking, and to maintain that connection between the employer and the employee is vitally important. But Karl, I also want to say that our scheme is a lot broader than the United Kingdom scheme. Over there, it only applies to workers who are stood down. Our scheme applies to workers who are continued to work. As well as that, the New Zealand scheme is more generous than the New Zealand scheme, and both the UK and New Zealand schemes were for 3 months. Ours is for 6 months.
The drama's going to be at the end of the day, and we just saw a coffee shop there. There are so many businesses, tens of thousands of businesses. They can't stay open if they don't have customers, and at the moment, customers can't congregate in any group, and they're just not spending money. How are you going to deal with that?
Well, this is the harsh reality of the health restrictions that we need to put in place to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And Karl, you only have to turn on your television to see what's happening in Italy, or indeed the United States more recently, and Spain after the experience in China. And unless we put these rigid health restrictions in place, we'll see more lives lost here. And our first priority is to see lives saved. And that's why we are taking the best possible advice from the Chief Medical Officer.
I mean, I think back to that first stimulus package you announced, and $17.6 billion seemed like a lot of money.
It certainly was.
It seemed like years ago.
But I mean, do you then foresee, like, what you guys and timeframes you're working to? Will we need another package on top of this, or are you hoping that this is going to be enough to see us through the worst of it?
Well, none of our announcements are set and forget. Indeed, once you've made an announcement, you focus on the implementation of that in the most efficient and effective way. But there'll be other measures that we will announce over the course of the coronavirus crisis, and that just reflects the nature of the pandemic and the threat and its economic impact. We're effectively fighting a war on two fronts, a health crisis and an economic crisis simultaneously.
So you think more will be needed?
More will be needed and more will be done.
Are you going to bail out Virgin?
Well, Virgin have obviously written to the government, and these are commercial in confidence matters, so I'm not going to go into detail about that. But, Karl, we do support a viable, sustainable aviation sector. That's why we've already announced more than $700 million of support for that sector, including for Virgin and Qantas. And we do want to see major companies like that continue to operate.
So it will be more of a bailout for the whole industry rather than just one airline. You won't take sovereign status or sovereign ownership in one particular company?
Look, I would suggest to you not to draw any conclusions. They've obviously written to the government. That's made its way into the media. I'm not going to speculate on that, but I do know that we continue to support the aviation sector.
Will you take sovereign ownership of any other businesses at the moment? That's the big debate going on.
Again, that's not our focus. What our focus is on has been providing the income support to millions of Australians who have lost their jobs, to support millions of businesses who are doing it tough, and to ensure that the country gets the best possible health support and services with an injection of funds where it's needed most. That's been our priority.
We know that nothing's for free. How long do you think we're going to be paying for this? How many years?
We'll be paying for years to come. That's the harsh reality of the spending that is required in this coronavirus crisis, but many other countries just don't have the financial firepower that Australia has to respond. And that's why when we balanced the budget and got the books back on track, why that was so important, because we went into this economic crisis with a debt to GDP ratio which was about a quarter of that in the United Kingdom or in the United States, and about 1/7 of that in Japan. So we are much better prepared economically for the challenges ahead than many other nations.
Well, there's a big announcement yesterday. We wish you all the very best in the days and weeks ahead. It's a tough job. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Karl. Thanks, Ali.
Well, still ahead, quarantined in a small hotel room for 2 whole weeks, one frustrated family is going to